everybody, welcome to the Comic Game Movie Show. My name is Deshaun, and today I am here to review the penultimate, the final stop before the last episode of Moon Knight. I'm here to review Moon Knight episode 5, and this is a crazy journey. Next week will be a wrap-up. Next week's gonna be a big week for Marvel because, next week's gonna be a big week for Marvel because next week you're gonna have the finale of Moon Knight, and then on that Friday, or that Thursday night really, you're gonna have Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, which I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm so excited for that film. And spoiler alert for me, for my life, I go on vacation next week. So I got a lot of time on my hands next week. There's a good chance, a high chance, I might go see that thing on Thursday night, man. I'm not gonna lie, I would see something like this with Seth. I know we're both gonna enjoy it. I would wait for him. But I'm so excited for this film. I'm so hyped for it that I may go fucking see it. I may go see it Thursday night. I'm not sure. I'll tell you one thing, if I do, I'm not gonna tell anyone. I might go see it Thursday night. I'm not sure. We shall see. But there's a lot going on next week. The final episode of Moon Knight. But this episode right here, Moon Knight, is, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I think this is probably the best acting in any of the MCU projects so far. It's only like Elizabeth Olsen, some of the Elizabeth Olsen stuff was on this level too. But Oscar Isaac, man, he is just killing it. You know what? Sometimes the MCU brings on an actor. And this is fair. Sometimes the MCU brings on an actor of a certain caliber. And you want to see them, and you know what they can do, but they don't really get to show it all off. Via Hela. I love Cate Blanchett as Hela. But admittedly, when you know who Cate Blanchett is, you know the level of performer she is, you're just like, I want to see more out of her. Glenn Close playing Nova Prime. You know the level of performer she is. You wish you could see more out of her, but this is what we got right now. There are many actors like that in the MCU who they bring on board, and you're just like, man, they could be more done with them. They could do more with this, if you would just let them do more with this. And Oscar Isaac is pushing this Moon Knight character as far, from the jump when Oscar Isaac signed on board to play Moon Knight. In my mind, knowing the Moon Knight character, knowing his DID, knowing his dissociative identity disorder, knowing his whole thing, I was like, this is gonna be a really fun character for an actor to play. Moon Knight to me is gotta be the equivalent, at least not in the same level, but in terms of, it's gotta be juicy for an actor, say the Joker. Because the Joker's always juicy for actors because madness, how the angles you can take on playing up madness and playing up, why he's mad. There's so many different angles you could take with the Joker character that it's just a juicy character for an actor to take on. And I think Moon Knight's another one of those characters that's just a juicy character for an actor to take on. Just the multifaceted, approach to this character. And this episode is just Oscar Isaac showing how great of an actor he is, how good he is, how much. Oscar Isaac spends the majority of this episode acting opposite himself, but he is such a good actor. I already said Oscar Isaac already fucking did something to me the last couple weeks that I never thought possible. For someone to play two lead characters in the same body and for me to identify them as two different characters. And for me to visually be able to understand, and plus this might be not just Oscar Isaac, kudos to the people, to the directors and to people shooting the movie, and to the cinematographer and all these different people. They have done such a wonderful job of allowing me to easily be able to tell if Mark's in control or if Steven's in control, and be able to easily tell how they feel about each other in the situations. And it's almost like there are literally Mark and Steven on screen the whole time together. And now that we get to actually see them together on screen, separately together on screen, it is fun to see Oscar Isaac acting opposite himself. It's crazy. To me, it's crazy, and to me, I just got to start off top by saying Oscar Isaac is bar none putting in the best performance so far in the Phase 4 of the MCU. This is bar none the best performance. It makes me a bit nervous when I heard news that Moon Knight is listed in the limited category, when I heard news that Oscar Isaac only signed like a one deal just to do this and nothing else, which I'm half expecting like next week, you know, the moon, like we just don't know about it. I'm half expecting next week for them to be like, oh, we're fucking with you. My bad. No, yeah, we're, Oscar Isaac, he signed a long-term deal. He'll be back. It won't be a Moon Knight series. It'll be something else. Like, I'm halfway expecting that because knowing that they've listed it in limited series, it does make me a bit like, okay. But I digress. Especially they listed Hawkeye too, which, it's funny. Hawkeye and Moon Knight were the two shows that I thought would continue, and Loki was the one I thought that would stop. But I don't know. Apparently, but I heard Loki, but never mind. We're talking about Moon Knight. Now, this episode is one of the best episodes on Disney Plus also. It is heavy. It is dealing with the topic that is always heavy. And when you're dealing with dissociative identity disorder, most people say, which I'm not an expert, but when I look around, and most people say that that's a disorder that starts when you're a childhood. It's in your childhood. Usually it starts in your childhood. Usually it's something that's so bad, you're dealing with a trauma or traumas, depending on your situation, that is so bad that your mind has to escape. And you disassociate. You disassociate with the situation and create something different to live in. Create a different identity to not deal with what's happening in front of you, to not deal with the trauma you're dealing with. And we all knew, and like if you know enough about that kind of thing and you can kind of piece together, like we all kind of knew something had to have happened. But the level of how bad it was. So, first of all, we pick up right after the events of last week. Hippo Lady's still there. And we're going back and forth between her and Dr. Harrow's office. Turns out Mark is indeed dead. This is indeed the afterlife. And he is in the Egyptian afterlife. And apparently in the Egyptian afterlife, your mind can't conceive what the after. Well, I like that concept. I've always sort of kind of like that idea that like the afterlife is this, that if we were, that when you die, you don't quite, like heaven or whatever you think you would go, it doesn't quite look the way you think it would look because it's not, it doesn't look, you're not actually seeing what it actually is because your mind can't, because your fragile human mind can't conceive what heaven or hell or whatever actually is. That's just some bullshit we came up with. And it's like, if you knew the real version of this, your brain would melt. And I like that concept. And his version is this, is a psychological facility. So, and you know, he's in this psych ward, and you know, it's funny because it's like, okay, that makes sense. And they also make reference to other afterlives, including the damn it, what's that place? Including the land in Black Panther where all the former Black Panthers go that we saw in Black Panther, the ancestral planes. They allude to that. They actually straight up say it, which then means that in the MCU confirmed, depending on what you believe in and where you are, kind of feels like that. Depending on what you believe in and where you are is where you would go if you died. So it makes me think, like, if you're fucking just happen to be in Norway or China or Japan, or if you're from some other country and you die, you might not see who you think you're gonna see. But anyways, turns out Steven and Mark have to go on a journey of the past to balance their souls, their hearts, because, you know, the hippo goddess is weighing their heart on the scale, and if the scales don't match up, they get chucked overboard. As it turns out, they're on a giant ship sailing through the sands of the dune. It's like, what the fuck? It was great effect, great visual. But yeah, so this episode is mostly about mostly the origin of Steven, the origin of Moon Knight, and the origin of, you know, what's made him what he is today. And we discover that essentially Mark created Steven to escape from the trauma of his mother. When Mark was a young boy, him and his brother were hanging out, they were having a good time. Him and his younger brother were hanging out, they were having a good time. But something went wrong, an area they were in flooded, and his brother died. And you know, if that's not if that's not enough guilt, if that's not enough trauma watching your own brother drown to death and feeling responsible for your own little brother drowning to death, his mother is rabidly blaming him. I mean, she straight up says it's your fault, screams it at the top of her lungs at a funeral. It's your fault. What are you still doing here? And they kind of cut a bit, but over the course of time, you see that she's just still bagging on him and bagging on him emotionally, physically, verbally, abusing him constantly at him hard. And he breaks, he snaps. And that's the kind of shit that can make something like this happen when your mother, and I will give this, Marvel has balls because it's not one of the things you see too often. You don't see it as much as you think you would. Usually when they depict a bad parent, it's a male parent. Usually it's a bad male parent. They don't usually do the abusive mother thing. Like abusive mother on a boy isn't something that they often do, except in like horror movies and stuff. But you don't see it in shows like this and in things like this, an abusive mother. So, I give them kudos for even touching that, because I thought for sure if we're going to go that angle, we're going to go with the father, but they went with the mother, and it was really effective because that would just fuck you up. When you're a boy, especially when you're a boy, like, you never imagine your own mother would not be able to love you. Not only not be able to love you, but to hate you, to outwardly hate you, to outwardly attack you, to outwardly say that you're responsible for the death of your brother, to outwardly, just abuse you in almost every imaginable fashion. Like, it's just like, it's a lot, dude, and it's heavy. This is a heavy episode. And, it deals with trauma, wanting to escape that trauma, wanting to avoid that trauma, and doing anything you can to. Different people handle trauma differently, depending on the levels of trauma. And he handled it by disassociating with it. And I don't blame him. I don't know what I would do. I don't. I don't know how I would react if I felt like I was responsible, if I was dealing with all that, if I felt like I was responsible for my brother's death, if my mom is constantly abusing me both physically, mentally, and emotionally, if my dad isn't even really in my corner and I'm dealing with this every single day, I don't know what would happen to me either. And what happened made perfect sense. And like I said, this is a very emotional, very heavy episode. It's some of the best drama in the MCU in general. And when it ended up getting to the end, we found out what we kind of knew, which is Steven is the altar. Steven is the thing that Mark created. And it was a big gut punch, though, still, because we've been following Steven the whole time. So we kind of view Steven as the main protagonist, because we've been, with him the whole time. So when we get to the end and Steven ends up, spoiler alert, sacrificing himself to save Mark, it was just emotional, and a lot of people have made this comparison, and I think that it's a very close comparison to Bing Bong and Inside Out. I think is it Bing Bong? Yeah, to Bing Bong and Inside Out. That was one of the most emotional scenes I've ever seen in a movie. Me and Seth went to go see that movie. I believe me and Seth went to go see Inside Out. I believe we did, because I just remember being like really emotional about that. And then Steven, and then Mark's scales balanced. And I'm curious of how they're going to play this. Are they saying that Mark doesn't need Steven anymore, so now his scales can be balanced? Which I'd be sad, because I really like Steven and I really want him to still be around. Oh man, it left the episode on just this insane note. This was an emotional episode. This is the best episode on Moon Knight. This episode, Moon Knight episode 5, gets a 10 out of 10. Thank you guys for joining the Comic Game Movie Show. Please like, subscribe, and what did you think about Moon Knight episode 5? Comment below, let me know, and I will see you guys on the next one. Goodbye.